I wasn't really doing anything for God, but I was sort of running away from God.
At that moment, you knew, me, Greg Russell, I am a sinner.
I'm a sinner.
And so the next 20 some odd years,
I just was having fun.
yeah.
Well, I grew up in a Christian home. My folks were Presbyterian. I was Presbyterian at the time. It was like a social club to me. It was a place where you go and met your friends and played and had fun, and didn't know a whole lot about the Lord, but I did know a lot of Bible stuff, stories, you know. And so, you know, looking at it from that standpoint, I had a good moral upbringing. I was about, say 10 to 13 years old. I went to vacation Bible school, and the Sunday school teacher said, if any of you are sinners in here, raise your hand. And I stuck my little hand up. Yeah. And I thought, you know, I knew, but I didn't. She didn't have us do anything about it, so I don't remember getting saved at that time. I don't remember doing anything.
You tell me earlier you spent a lot of the time, your youth, your teenage years, and your 20s, really it was about Greg Russell.
Right.
And it was more about what I could do for myself.
Playing sports, studying to show myself approved unto me.
Right, not unto God.
Not unto God.
Yeah.
And we just focused on how we could succeed in this life rather than on how I could be a better Christian. You know, yeah. I wasn't even a Christian. I went to church.
Yeah.
You know, I was a church goer, and it was just part of my life, but it was not the whole part of my life. It was like the little part of my life.
That Shirley got saved before you did, right?
Right. She got saved in about 1969.
Okay.
She was watching Billy Graham on TV.
Yeah.
And he told her to just ask Jesus to come into her heart, and she did, and he did.
Now, what was your thought on that?
My thought was, I thought she had flipped out because all she wanted to do was talk about God. And so I got to talking with some of her relatives, and we even considered committing her to an asylum. We thought she had flipped out.
Yeah.
You know, because she wasn't talking about relatives anymore. She wasn't talking about anything I was doing. She was talking about God. And we thought she was gone.
Yeah. And so she was 32?
She was 32 at the time.
And you were a little bit older than her,
right?
39, is that right?
30, I was about 34 at the time.
Okay.
But about 6 years later, I get saved. And that's when
it took that long for you.
Oh yeah.
The whole time you thought she was crazy.
She prayed us out to California. She prayed us back, and I just put up with it. You know, it was just not. It wasn't part of me.
And you finally thought, they're going to a special meeting.
Right.
Out somewhere.
I'm going to take them.
I'm going to be nice. I'm going to take them.
Right.
But really, God's hand was on that trip, right?
Right.
That's where you met the lady at the door. Right. And when you told me that when she hugged you, it was like God hugging you.
Right. It wasn't her anymore. She just disappeared out of my mind entirely, and God had a hold of me.
Yeah.
And from that time on, it was like God just was in my life.
Right. And so after that experience you had, when you got saved and you became a Christian, you were born again, then you got Spirit-filled.
Right.
What we call Spirit-filled.
Right.
Tell me about how that impacted you.
Well,
why is it important for a person not just to stop at just coming to Christ, but being Spirit-filled as well?
It actually started, what I say is I started communicating with God. Not where I could hear him verbally, but it was like he started showing me things. You know, I got a hunger for the Word after I got Spirit-filled. I couldn't put the Word down. I had to read it, and it was like it became alive. Before, it was just like little tidbits. It was like I was using the Bible as a scapegoat, you know, almost to find an answer to a problem. Well, it's got the answers to the problems, but when you get the hunger, it's like God starts talking to you. And I would be reading a passage, and it was like it was over my head, and I'm thinking, God, I'm an educated man, why can't I understand this? And the next morning I'd turn on my radio on the way to work, and guess what? A preacher would be preaching on that very sermon and telling me exactly what it meant, and it was like, God, you're just too much, you know?
Right.
And it was like everything I asked, he'd give me an answer.
Yeah.
And it's still that way today, and that's been 35 years ago.
And so here
and
you are.
I'm still hungering for the Word, and I'm still getting answers.
33 years young.
Right. Amen.
Still on fire for God.
Amen.
Still just as much in love with Jesus as you
Amen.
were before.
Amen.
And so,
Amen.
tell me about, when I think about some people that go in retirement, that's basically where they stop in life. And
Right.
they wait,
Right.
basically, to just go on to be with the Lord. Not so in your case.
No, I tell everybody I've retired 3 times and can't stay retired. I've got too much to do, and God's got too much for me to do, and I just keep refiring and going on.
Yeah. And so, tell me, where would you be right now if it were not for that one meeting that you went to?
I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
I'd be dead.